We have no items tonight on public hearings, so we'll go right into our meeting. First, we'll ask everybody to please mute or turn off their cell phones. We'll have our invocation by Mr. Joseph, Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Trent Forrest.
Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the many, many, many blessings we've received. We thank you for our health, our strength. We thank you for our peace of mind. We thank you for our families and our friends. We thank you for this gathering tonight, this meeting. I ask that you give the leadership all the wisdom and all the knowledge and all the understanding needed to make those decisions that are pleasing in your sight. And Lord, we ask that you continue to bless all of those who put themselves in front of us so that we may enjoy the freedoms we enjoy today, namely our military personnel, police officers, healthcare workers, all those people who are willing to sacrifice for our safety and our well-beings. And Lord, as we leave this place, whenever your grace, we ask for traveling grace back to our families and our various abodes. And we'll be sure to give you all the honor, all the glory, and all the praise. And all the saints within the sound of my voice responded by saying, Amen. Thank you. God bless.
Please face the flag with veterans and active military. Please render the proper salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Forrest.
Present.
Mr. Ingraffia.
Present.
Mr. Joseph.
Present.
Mr. Bruno.
Here.
Mr. Richtel.
Here.
Mr. Mayu.
Here.
Mr. Wells.
Here.
Mr. Vial.
Here.
Miss Hyde.
Here.
Miss Coates.
Okay, hopefully everyone's had a chance to look over the minutes from the January 24th meeting. They were emailed to you. If there are no questions or corrections, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Joseph, second by Mr. Wells. Roll call, please.
Mr. Ingraffia.
Yes.
Mr. Joseph.
Yes.
Mr. Bruno.
Yes.
Mr. Richtel.
Yes.
Mr. Mayu.
Yes.
Mr. Wells.
Yes.
Mr. Vial.
Yes.
Miss Hyde.
Yes.
Miss Coates. Mr. Forrest.
Yes.
All right. Is there anyone wishing to address agenda items which were not on public hearing? Mr. Miller, will you come give us your report?
It's on now. Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much. We have a few items, and if y'all will indulge, I have a few updates or notes to update you. I'll talk about. The first item tonight is approval to accept into the parish maintenance system Cali Court subdivision, or Cali Court subdivision. That's in District 9. The roads have been inspected, and they meet all the standards and the requirements.
We have a motion by Mr. Mayu, second by Mr. Ridgel. Roll call, please.
Mr. Joseph.
Yes.
Mr. Bruno. Yes. Mr. Richtel.
Yes.
Mr. Mayu.
Yes.
Mr. Wells.
Yes.
Mr. Vial.
Yes.
Miss Hyde.
Yes.
Miss Coates. Yes. Mr. Forrest.
Yes.
Mr. Ingraffia.
Yes.
Thank you. Item 2, there needs to be more information collected about it. It was put on there a little bit too quick, and so we're going to table that, if that's okay with y'all.
That's my district. Also move.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Forrest. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bruno.
Yes.
Mr. Richtel.
Yes.
Mr. Mayu.
Yes.
Mr. Wells.
Yes.
Mr. Vial.
Yes.
Miss Hyde.
Yes.
Miss Coates.
Yes.
Mr. Forrest.
Yes.
Mr. Ingraffia.
Yes.
Mr. Joseph.
Yes.
Thank you. Item 3 is the approval to enter into a cooperative endeavor agreement with the town of Amite. They want to build a water tower, and they're needing property, Highway 51 North, and we're asking to be able to donate back approximately 1 acre of land at the arena, which, if you remember, that property was donated to us by the town of Amite in 2001 or 4, something like that. And so we want to be able to put it back so that they can provide water service in that area. The water tower also, we're talking about it being very close to the road or up close to the road, so it's a landmark for the town coming in southbound, and for the arena to be able to take advantage of that.
I've been briefed on that, Madam President. I move for adoption.
Motion by Mr. Mayhew, Mr. Joseph, second by Mr. Mayhew. Roll call, please.
Mr. Richtel?
Yes.
Mr. Mayhew?
Yes.
Mr. Wells?
Yes.
Mr. Vial? Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Ms. Coates?
Yes.
Mr. Forrest?
Yes.
Mr. Graffia?
Yes.
Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Thank you. Item 4, recommendation of commendation, right? Condemn assessment number 6552300, parcel C2 of the Bergeron mini partition in Hammond, Louisiana. It's in District 8. It is not structurally sound and unfit to occupy, in fully dilapidated condition and therefore unfit. There are pictures in your packet that show it to you. I'll tell you that I know that we've had many discussions about these types of properties, and this is hopefully the first of many more.
Yeah, it's actually in my district, but I'm glad to see y'all moving on this, and there's probably more out there that we need to, and I don't know if maybe we need to put some money in the budget for the legal expense stuff, but this one was moved in about a year ago, maybe longer, never occupied. I'm not sure if they got a permit or not. I don't think they did.
Don't think so.
And then Ida came along, and it's deplorable. So anyway, I'm glad to see y'all doing this, and I'll move that we adopt this.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Vial, second by Ms. Coates. Roll call, please.
Mr. Mayhew?
Yes.
Mr. Wells?
Yes.
Mr. Vial?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Ms. Coates?
Yes.
Mr. Forrest?
Yes.
Mr. Graffia?
Yes.
Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno? Mr. Richtel?
Yes.
Thank you. And then the 5th item and the last requiring action, approval of a change order number 1 for Sibley Road. Sibley Road was messed up by the developer, had additional construction, homes being built in the subdivision, using the road. They tore it up. They agreed to reimburse the parish for that rebuild of the road. This $42,000, right at $43,000, $42,989.03, is a change order that we, the parish, instituted or asked for after the developer agreed to pay to rebuild it. It was some improvements that we wanted to do to the road, so they paid roughly $140,000, I believe it was, and we're asking to be able to reimburse this $43,000 to the contractor.
This is Sibley on the south end?
Isn't that correct?
Yeah, that's the one in
yes,
my
yeah.
district.
Okay.
Also move.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Vial, second by Ms. Coates. Roll call, please.
Mr. Wells?
Yes.
Mr. Vial?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Ms. Coates? Yes. Mr. Forrest?
Yes.
Mr. Graffia?
Yes.
Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Richtel?
Yes.
Mr. Mayhew?
Yes.
Thank you. And then for a few notes, if you don't mind, this Friday, debris, the last pass begins the 18th. It begins on Friday, so if anybody's got stuff, you need to get it out there to the road. The contractor says they'll be ramping up the number of trucks again to cover the whole parish pretty quickly. This does not cover the stumps, does not pick up the stumps. They're going to take a little longer. A whole different set of equipment is used to pick up the stumps. But the construction debris, trees, so forth, and all that needs to be at the roads because they're going to pass one more time past in front of your home, and then after that, it's on the citizens. So just want to make sure everybody knows that.
One question, Robin.
Yes, sir.
I hear you say they're gonna make an entire pass, is that what I
They're
heard?
gonna, yes, sir, every parish road.
Okay. Every parish road?
The DOTD finished theirs,
What about city?
yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So it's
Non-state road.
Got
let's
it,
put it that
okay,
way.
thank you.
Thank you.
Just wanna be sure everybody got that.
Yes, sir. I think everybody knows, because we're well into it, but February is Black History Month. So please take advantage of the opportunities at the library and so forth to learn more about that. And then on a personal note, if y'all will indulge me for just a couple of minutes, I think all of y'all know, and maybe a lot of the parish knows, that back in November, Donna, my wife, was diagnosed with breast cancer. On February 3rd, she had successful surgery to remove the tumor, and all the reports are exceptionally good. We're very, very, very fortunate that it was caught very early. I want to make sure we thank Donna too, wants to make sure we thank everyone for all the support and the prayers They were definitely felt. We definitely heard from y'all. I'm sorry if I don't make it through this. But it was definitely, the support was felt. They were, carried her through. And I want to make sure y'all all know too that Donna was praying just as hard for you, for everybody who prayed for her. She was making sure she was praying back for them because she just felt like she needed to do that. She couldn't just take the prayers. She had to give back. The big news here is that it was caught very early because of her being vigilant to do her mammograms every year. And so she and I are both encouraging, begging all ladies to please do your mammograms. Go on a regular schedule. If it's caught early, it can be taken care of, cured. That was the word that was being used the whole time during this process, is Donna will be cured of cancer. So please, please, please go do your mammograms and stay on top of it because it definitely makes a difference. Thank you. So we want to thank everyone. We truly appreciate it.
Yes.
And happy Valentine's, everybody.
Thank you, Robbie. We're going to change the agenda and move the 3 discussion items that we have up. Some of our members have to leave. First, we're going to move to item 11, which is discussion of redistricting. This is Mr. Wells.
Okay, Madam Chairman, I place that on the agenda. As you know, it's getting close to the time for the council to do the redistricting of the parish. And according to the census, that the 2020 census, that all of our districts, of course, and also according to the 2020 census, that the minority portion of the parish, population-wise, now is roughly around 40%. And I've been having inquiries from people about how we're going to go about the redistricting, what we're going to include in the redistricting and such as that. And one of those persons was Mr. Michael Showers. He's president of the NAACP, and he would like to have a few minutes to address the council.
Mr. Showers, please state your name and address.
Am I on?
Yes, sir. You'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Okay. Michael Showers, 17536 Rising Fawn Road, and that's Amite, Louisiana. Madam President, members of the council, Parish President Miller, thank you for the opportunity to speak about redistricting here locally. I come to you on behalf of over 200 members of the Greater Tangipahoa Parish NAACP. Our petition is for this parish council to provide the fair and equitable mapping during the redistricting process that may reflect the diversity and demographics of the parish. Given the 2020 census results are in and the parish demographics are counted as a third African American population and roughly 60% non-Hispanic white, the African American community is underrepresented on this parish council, having only 2 of 10 majority-minority council seats. What we know, based on recent maps presented to the school board, that it's possible to draw a map with 3 or 9 minority seats. Therefore, it should be much easier for a demographer to draw a map of 3 of 10 majority-minority seats, and we believe that this will correct any malapportionment. Imagine owning 33% stock in a company and having a majority of your stockholders tell you that you will only share in 20% of the profits. You will most likely demand your fair share of compensation and representation. This is no different than what we are asking today, fair representation to participate at the highest level in our local government. Here locally, there are great people that live in Tangipahoa Parish. Some of the best people you want to know live in the confines of this 832 square miles. However, there are systems and mechanisms in place to exclude certain groups of people from being fully participating in the government. We must ask ourselves, with so many great people, why are such systems and mechanisms in place? We expect the parish council will comply with Section 2 of the Voter Rights Act, which prohibits packing and dilution. We expect the parish council to honor its oath and obligation to the citizens of this parish, and we expect that you, our district representatives, will present a map that is reflective of the people it serves. Thank you for your time, and if you have any questions that I may answer.
Mike, has the demographer drawn up the maps for the parish, or is that in the future?
We
I
have,
guess he's completed the school board, so.
not yet, no, sir.
Okay, so-
He's still working, and I think March 8th, they're supposed to present it to the committee
Okay,
at the
so-
school board.
So I've never done this before. I wasn't on the board when the last time they did it. So will he get input from the sitting council members?
Absolutely.
Mr. Joseph, can I,
Yes.
we contracted with a demographer last year, William Blair out of Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
Jill and I have both been in contact with him. He wants to finish the school board before he starts the parish council. He will sit down and meet with all 10 councilmen before he does anything. But right now, they're doing the redistricting session in
Okay.
Baton Rouge, so he's not even gonna start that process meeting with us until that's over.
All right, so where do those numbers come from we got? From the federal government. From the
That's
feds?
from-
Yes,
Yeah, that's the
that's
census number.
numbers.
Okay,
That's the census now.
all right. I agree with you, Mike.
We have a committee formed. Mr. Bruno's chairing that committee. Mr. Wells serves on it.
Oh, okay. I
Mr.
didn't
Ridgestill and
realize
Mr.
that.
VL, so.
Okay, that's good. I didn't realize that.
Let me just say this, and, I mean, there's really not a lot we could do right now because of because we haven't even had our first meeting with him yet. This will be my third time to do this over my period of time on the council. There's gonna be, Mr. Blair is very well schooled in this.
Yeah,
He is the one that does the legislature. He's been doing this for many, many years. And his process is pretty simple. He's gonna meet individually with you and look over your district.
That's cool.
He's gonna meet with a couple at a time that are close together to see what areas may be suitable for whatever. Then there will be a couple of public hearings that the council will schedule for the public to give their input.
Okay.
And there'll be numerous times to where the council can put input in to the drawing of the lines. But the ultimate drawing of the lines will be up to him.
Blair, okay.
But he's a very fair man, and everything that we've ever had with him, he was always on the up and up, very, very good demographer. So I think we'll have a situation pretty soon, and I think he's told Bridget sometime maybe the middle of February.
Yes, sir.
I mean,
Well, towards the end of
towards
the
the end of
month.
February, 1st of March, he'll start setting up those meetings.
Very good.
So by the time you get through, you'll be a pro at it.
Thank you, Carlo.
All right,
I've
Mr.
never
Allen,
been
I just
through
want
it.
to take this opportunity
Thank
to
you.
thank you for coming, and I just feel what the committee gonna do will be fair and equitable. I also like to remind the council that having 3 minority districts won't be a new thing to this parish, because if
right.
you recall, there were 3 minority districts from 1988 to 1991, so it won't be a new thing.
Good.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you so
Showers.
much.
Good job, Pratt.
And I gotta leave because today is Valentine's Day, so I won't get any more hot water than I'm already in.
All right, thank you.
Tell your wife hello, Mike.
Mike, don't feel like the Lone Ranger, okay?
Yeah, man. We all gotta get out of here.
Item 12 is discussion of Channel 17 contract. We need to renew that contract. I just wanted to make the rest of the council aware of that. We're going to be meeting hopefully in the next week or so to start working on that. Mr. Wayne Glasscock is here. If anyone has a question, he's available to answer it. Okay. Thank you for being here, Mr. Wayne. We'll be getting in touch with you. All right. All right, item 13 is discussion of proposed agreement with the coroner's office.
Okay, I put this item on the agenda, and
Bruno,
I'm gonna try to make it as quick.
turn your mic on.
Mine's buzzing for some reason.
That's probably in your ears.
I put this on the agenda, and I have not been on the committee for the coroner, but I want to thank the members that have been on the committee. They've kept us up to breast on the meetings that they've had, and I know they've been numerous. But I was told a few months back that there may be a partial agreement that may be reached between the coroner's office and the administration that would have to be ratified by the council, to where we would be given a portion of the money that's budgeted to the coroner's office directly to the coroner's office for him to manage in the form of his payroll and some of those things. And it's a sizable amount of money. It's probably close to $400,000. As you know, the budget for the coroner is about $875,000. It's no secret that there's been some stories in the press, some different things run about the coroner's office, and I think I can say this without any hesitation, that we've all probably had calls about the coroner's office at one time or another about different things. My thing is, if we're going to turn over this sizable amount of money to the coroner's office, my opinion is, before we do that, we need to have a full examination of the operation of the coroner's office. And I think we could do that by asking the legislative auditor to come in and look at the operations of the coroner's office to see if the money and all of that is being used the way it's supposed to be. If we get a good report from them and they agree to do it, I have no problem turning over $400,000 to the office. But because there's some questions out there about the operations, I would like to get a clean bill of health from the legislative auditor, letting us know that everything is being done the way it needs to be according to the law. And I really would like to get this done as soon as possible if they would do it, and then we can move on and let the coroner's office operate. But, you know, I'll be the first to say if there's something that's not right there, I would want it corrected before we turn that money over. And I think all of us feel that same way. So that was why I wanted to bring it to everybody's attention tonight. But I'd like to put it in a form of a motion, and if we can do it by a resolution, I'd like to put it in a form of a motion that we ask the legislative auditor to come in and look at the finances of the coroner's office and let us know the good, the bad, and the ugly, whatever we need to know. And once we get those results, I have no problem voting to turn that $400,000 over to the coroner's office. So I'll put that in the form of a motion. And I'd like to hear from some of y'all if y'all feel the same way. I don't know. I hope it's not just me that feels that way, because there's been some questions for a long time. And I think we need to find out what they are. And I want to commend the administration. I think they've worked hard and bent over backwards to supply the coroner with, you know, everything within reason that can be supplied. But, you know, we don't have an endless supply of money that every department that comes and asks for money, we can keep increasing the budgets. So if in this day and time with tight funds, you really want to know before you do things like this if the money's going to be spent the way it needs to be spent. And that's just my feeling on it.
I would just like to say, Madam Chairman, to everybody, the committee that we had, we've been working, I mean, prior to the last issue where we asked them to make sure that he go back. We were waiting for feedback to come back from the coroner. Jeff, have y'all had any meetings since our last meeting? Yeah.
The last meeting that we had, Bridget was there. Were you there?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the last time that we met with the.
So we haven't had any feedback from him since.
So we're waiting to hear back from. We did get a letter from the coroner's office. I think that was done by Dennis James, this is accountant, requesting the first disbursement because they bill us monthly for the fees that statutorily we have to pay to them. So I think that's the only thing that we've received since that time.
Yeah, and I guess the other thing that I would like to say, I mean, we have Mr. Dennis James and we have other auditors, and I mean, they could kind of do the same thing. They can go ahead and audit the book of the coroner instead of having the legislative auditor to come in and adopt a resolution. That's something we had kind of planned on anyway, is to have an auditor come in and go through their books before anything is turned over to anybody.
business to do an audit. I mean, that way, we have a clean bill of health, and we know what to do. It's something that come up right.
Yeah, and that's the reason why we wanted to make sure that there was not, well, we didn't say a legislative audit, we said that the books needed to be audited. They needed to be looked at. That's what we said before we turned the thing over. But you mean, do it the way you want to, but that was.
Well, the only
not a great
problem,
plan.
Lionel, there could be a conflict with the situation with Dennis James, because Dennis James is the auditor for the parish.
Yeah,
And there could be a problem with that, him being able to do an audit of a department under parish government. And we still don't know that for sure.
right.
But I think you're gonna bring, by doing it the other way, you bring in an independent that doesn't have any,
Right.
you know,
Right,
any.
Right, sure. I mean, I'm not against it because, you know, right now, I don't think you even need a resolution that, I'm a committee member, Bridget is here, I mean, Jeff is here. I mean, I think that's a great idea that'd be done. Because I don't agree with turning over parish money to anybody for nothing,
I mean,
unless the book's ordered.
it is a big
Yeah.
change,
Yeah.
and it's a large amount of money.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we should have some kind of reckoning before we make this change. You know, if it's a legislative auditor, I'm good with that. I mean, I don't know, you know, maybe there is a conflict with Dennis James because he is our auditor for the parish, so I'm okay with it. I mean, I don't know if we need a resolution or we just,
It protects the council too.
I'm sorry?
It protects the council.
Yeah, and it protects us, and it protects the administration, and it protects everybody.
And you know, anything, before anything is done, it all has to come, even before we okay it, everything has to come back to the council anyway, because we're just a committee.
Right, I got it.
I mean, I'll second the resolution. That's
Well,
what we want to
Brad,
do.
our attorney's telling me that the way we need to do it is the resolution would give the authority to the committee to require or request the legislative auditor to come in and do the audit.
I don't know about the rest of the committee members. I would prefer to do it the way we've done it all the way in
the
the
whole
past.
board?
Yeah, let's go.
Well, that's
Let
fine
them
with me.
finish, let
I
the
mean-
committee make a report to the council. You hear the full report and then determine what you want to do.
Well, that's fine. I mean, I would think it's better if all of us vote on it anyway.
Yeah, that's the way it be.
So I'll leave my motion that the council, I'm asking the council to get the legislative auditor to look into the operations of the coroner's office.
Did you get a second?
I'll
Mr.
second.
Vial?
I'll
All right.
second.
So we have a motion by Mr. Bruno, second by Mr. VL. Roll call, please.
Mr. Forrest?
Yes.
Mr. Ingraffia?
Yes.
Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Richtel?
Yes.
Mr. Mayhew?
Yes.
Mr. Wells?
Yes.
Mr. Vial?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Ms. Coates?
Yes.
All right. We're going to go back up
Thank y'all.
to item 6, under regular business, introduction of TP ordinance number 2201, an ordinance to grant a variance to section 17.5.2, special classification property development standards of mobile home / manufactured home placement for Diane Carr, lots 16, 17, 18 of Woodland Park subdivision in Hammond, Louisiana. This is in District 7.
That's in my district, Madam Chairman, and this is one of many that we've had to look at from that area because of the way the city of Hammond was laid out back in those days. But this particular parcel is located on the corner of East Park and Fern Street. And that's been a very blighted area in my district for a long time, perhaps one of the worst ones in the city. But what this couple has done, and both of them are working tonight, that's why they couldn't come here tonight. But what they have done, they cleared a lot, but the lot is not large enough for them to put the mobile home. But so they needed to acquire the lot next door, and they have. But they haven't finished all the paperwork. The lawyers drawed up the paperwork. It will be finished, and then they will be .17 short. So that's what I'm asking for the variance for, .17. And Nick is here if anybody have any questions.
You know, this is I've run into the same thing. Mr. Wells and I's district kind of run together. I've run into the same thing. And this actually takes a lot of those smaller lots that were laid out with the city, like you said, I don't know, 50 feet, 40 feet, you know, and they're on the books. So combining these, I've done the same thing, really helps that area a lot. It really does.
And this couple has done an outstanding job. I mean, it was a blighted area. There's an old house on the lot, and they're gonna come in and even, take that out. And the good thing is they took their own dear time. They didn't ask anybody to run down the property owners. They did the research themselves. It took them about 3 or 4 months, but they actually did the research themselves. So that's all I would like to make that motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Wells, second by Mr. Ridgell. Roll call, please.
Mr. Vial,
Yes.
Ms. Hyde,
Yes.
Ms. Coates,
Yes.
Mr. Forrest,
Yes.
Mr. Ingraffia,
Yes.
Mr. Joseph, Mr. Bruno, Mr. Ridgell,
Yes.
Mr. Mayhew,
Yes.
Mr. Wells,
Yes.
Okay. Item 7 is introduction of TP Ordinance 2202, an ordinance amending and enacting Chapter 17, Planning and Development, Article 4, Standards for Subdivision Property, Section 17, 4.3, Major Subdivision Standards. This is an issue where we've had some subdivisions that have a public road that runs behind some of the lots in the subdivision, and people are going in and putting driveways out of their backyard onto the public road. So this would just change our regulations to say that there can not be any access out of the subdivision other than what's approved inside that subdivision plat.
I make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Ms. Coates, second by Mr. VL. Did someone have a question? Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Hyde,
Yes.
Ms. Coates,
Yes.
Mr. Forrest,
Yes.
Mr. Ingraffia,
Yes.
Mr. Joseph,
Yes.
Mr. Bruno, Mr. Ridgell,
Yes.
Mr. Mayhew,
Yes.
Mr. Wells,
Yes.
Mr. Vial,
Yes.
Item 8, introduction of TP Ordinance Number 2203, an ordinance amending and enacting Chapter 17, Planning and Development, Article 5, Standards for Development of Property, Section 17, 5.7, General Commercial Property Development Setbacks and Buffer Areas. So we're changing just some language in these chapters for buffers around commercial property. Does anybody have any questions on it? It was in your packet with the changes.
I also move.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. VL, second by Ms. Coates. Roll call, please.
Mr. Forrest,
Yes.
Mr. Ingraffia,
Yes.
Mr. Joseph,
Yes.
Mr. Bruno,
Yes.
Mr. Ridgell,
Yes.
Mr. Mayhew,
Yes.
Mr. Wells,
Yes.
Mr. Vial,
Yes.
Ms. Hyde,
Yes.
Ms. Coates,
Yes.
Item 9, adoption of TP Resolution 2203, a resolution for the Parish of Tangipahoa to authorize an Acadian ambulance service declaration for the health and well-being of the citizens throughout the duration of the coronavirus pandemic. Dwayne, did you want to speak on that, or?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yes, we met with the two committee members for the Oversight Committee for the ambulance, and as we mentioned to them, we are having some hardships with staffing, just as others throughout our parish, and we're asking for relief. In that, Mr. Bruno and probably Mr. Ridgell were the two back when we originally worked with the parish. Mr. Joe Garafola was in business at the time, and we put in a very good ordinance. It is not our recommendation to change the ordinance, but we are having some difficulties at this time. It's not just Acadian ambulance service. It's a nationwide shortage of EMS workers. It's increased since the pandemic for a number of reasons. Some fearful for working with folks with corona, others not wanting to take vaccinations, a lot of folks wanting to change their careers. So, I mean, the list goes on for different reasons. And that's on top of what our normal attrition is. And across the nation, there's about a 30% shortage of what the full employment for EMS agencies would be. And Acadian Ambulance is no different. So much so that the state of Louisiana, the governor had a proclamation, a declaration back in August, allowing state ambulance services, whether private or publicly held, to allow for EMRs to be an ambulance to work alongside with EMTs. And that was to address that shortage. Your ordinance supersedes that in that it was very stringent in that we must have a minimum of an EMT. Tonight, that's what I'm asking for support in this resolution, so that we can mimic what the state is doing and allow those EMRs. We've hired a lot of folks. We have a big push now for hiring people and training them, local people. I did send some stuff out. Hopefully you got that. And we're trying to encourage everybody in every parish to get the word out. If anybody has interest in health care, now's a good time to come on board. We're hiring as many people as we can, putting them through training. But obviously, there's a lot they have to go through. You have to put them through some investigative things for their license, their background checks, and all those things to make sure that they meet the minimum requirements, and then to get them into these classes. We're blessed in that years ago we started our own training academy. It's a national EMS academy, and that has given us the opportunity to triple up on these classes, and we're hopeful by April we'll start feeling some relief from that. But in the meantime, we're trying to get our legs under us. Many of us, including myself, I still have my paramedic certification and have been working in the streets to try to get what needs to be done. But it is a critical moment, and we ask for your support so that we can get our legs up under us for the next few months, or until which time things have kind of got back to the norm, whatever that may be as we approach the future.
Mr. Joseph had.
Thanks, Dwayne. But Councilman Wells and I met with Dwayne twice. And we had some issues, and he ironed those things out. But one thing I want to correct you on, Dwayne, he says it's systemic to get EMTs. It's systemic to get anybody to work. You go to Walmart, the shelves, they can't get somebody to stack the shelf. You go to Piggly Wiggly, you can't get anybody to work. It's nationwide, and I think it's because of the pandemic. But, you know, I think some of it just lack of ambition, too. But here's what I want to recommend to you. I didn't think about it until the other day. A good source may be, I'm going to send you the Adjutant General's phone number of the National Guard. Each National Guard unit has a medical section, and they go to Fort Sam Houston for medical training. Now, how many are out in the civilian world working? I don't know, but it may be a good resource for you to tap into that. Joe, you probably can bring us up to date on what I'm talking about. Yeah, and see if they have any of those soldiers that are interested in that. I know a lot of them are nurses, but a lot of them are paramedics as well.
And through our National EMS Academy, by the way, we do a lot of that training for the Rangers and folks in the military.
There you go.
So we have some contacts there, but I think the Guard may be one that maybe we need to look at. I'll ask the question. I don't oversee that, but I'll make sure that that's addressed as well. That's a very good point.
Okay, you're welcome to that. And
on the contract we have, could we leave the contract as is and maybe have an amendment to the contract that allows for y'all to do this until further notice?
So what we're asking, Mr. Bruno, is that the contract spells out that during those situations where it's acts of God or an emergency declaration, we're covered under the contract.
Okay.
What we're asking your relief for is on the ordinance side, where that ordinance says there must be a minimum of an EMT, whether they're driving the ambulance or not, in that ambulance. And that's what we're asking for the relief, is to allow these people we're training, that we've hired on, we're training. If we're getting in a situation where we need them, we could put them in there, and we're going to be legal by doing so.
But I mean, can we do an addendum to the contract?
Well, actually, the resolution that he asked would suffice, because we're talking about.
But it wouldn't wipe out what we have in the contract?
No, it would not wipe out what we have in the contract. And in fact, Livingston Parish has done it already, and they are.
I mean, I'm all for it, but I know the contract has done its job.
Right, yes.
And I know we're in a situation, and hopefully in the next 6 months, maybe things start picking up.
Right.
And we can go back.
As Mr. Lewis and Mr. Lionel will probably, tell you, at the end of our conversation, that was what we said was,
Okay,
hey,
that's right.
whatever you
Exactly.
do, don't make this a permanent thing because you guys have a
That
great
was his
ordinance.
request.
And we don't want to go back. We just want to get our feet up under us and get back to where we were prior to.
I can tell you, I'm like Lewis. If you find anybody that's not looking for somebody to work, I don't know what it is, because every business is in the same boat. And, you know, you gotta have people on there. You gotta have them to do the job, and, you know, whatever we can do to help y'all function the way you need to.
Well, I sent that flyer out to all of you. If you have some constituents, I gave Mr. Benitez over here. Anybody else from the press, I have some flyers like to share, and absolutely. Now, if anyone's wanting to get on, we're actually taking them on, paying them like they would be working, sending them to school. We're paying their tuition, we're paying their books, so that we can get our feet up under us. So
Mr.
it's
Miller
a
has a
great
comment.
opportunity
Wait,
for
Robbie
them.
has-
Mr. Minister, just wanted to tell you, thank you for the idea that y'all are pushing this training. You're doing those things you just said. It's definitely commendable to do that. We will definitely share that on our social media to make sure that the parish is pushing that information. On the relief from the ordinance, is there a time, I did not look at it, is there a time frame on it?
It
that has to be
says-
renewed later? That you
It
come
says
back-
this is a temporary waiver by Tangipahoa Parish Council and
Right.
Present Government and has authoritative. So then it goes on and says, it shall remain in effect from this date until we find that the threat of danger has been dealt with and emergency conditions no longer exist.
Yeah.
So
So
with,
we'll have to kind of manage,
Yeah,
monitor
yeah. We just have
ourselves,
to-
and you guys will update us too.
so we would have to bring it back, yeah.
Okay, Mr. Joseph.
I just want, Rob, I want you and the council to know also that I referred Dwayne to Tina Rope, the workforce, and Tina has put it on our website as well
Yes.
for kids to come in.
We're trying to do everything we can, to get some folks in.
Yeah.
And it's in our best interest too, because that's what we're here for, is to serve the community. And we're not dragging our feet. We're trying to be ahead of the game. Back when the governor signed that, it was not at the request of Acadian Ambulance, but it was at the request of the state. There's a Louisiana Rural Ambulance Association that, brought that forth. So it's not just Acadian
Yeah.
Ambulance. It's a statewide and national-wide problem.
All right. Did we get a motion? Where are we with this?
We didn't get a motion. You want to make it, Mr. Stokes?
So moved, yes,
And
sir.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Joseph, second by Mr. Wells. Roll call, please.
Ms. Coates?
Yes.
Mr. Forrest?
Yes.
Mr. Ingraffia?
Yes.
Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno? Mr. Richtel?
Yes.
Mr. Mayhew?
Yes.
Mr. Wells?
Yes.
Mr. Vial? Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Dwayne.
Thank you, Dwayne.
Item 10, resignation, appointment to the Hospital Service District 2, Hood Hospital. Mr. Joseph, I think this is,
That falls to John Ingraffia, Trent Forrest, and myself.
okay.
And we have Dr. Arthur. He's been there a long time and has served the hospital district well. He's retiring, really resigning. But he was a great asset to the hospital. But I think his replacement would be a great asset as well. A lot of y'all know him. We call him Tree because he's so tall. John Tree Smith is who we're recommending.
So I need a motion to
Yeah.
accept the resignation.
Let's do the resignation first. So move on that.
Second.
All right, have a motion by Mr. Joseph, second by Mr. Forrest. Roll call, please.
Mr. Ingraffia?
Yes.
Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Richtel?
Yes.
Mr. Mayhew?
Yes.
Mr. Wells?
Yes.
Mr. Vial?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Ms. Coates?
Yes.
Mr. Forrest?
Yes.
Okay, and I'd like to make a motion for his replacement by John Tree Smith.
I'll second.
Mr. Vial, okay. We have a motion by Mr. Joseph, second by Mr. Vial. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Richtel?
Yes.
Mr. Mayhew?
Yes.
Mr. Wells?
Yes.
Mr. Vial?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Ms. Coates?
Yes.
Mr. Forrest?
Yes.
Mr. Ingraffia?
Yes.
Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
All right, beer, wine, and liquor, we have none. Legal matters?
Nothing else tonight.
Okay. Councilman's privileges. Mr. Bruno?
I had brought to y'all attention a couple of meetings ago about the disbanding of the
Turn your mic on.
disbanding of the Recreation District Board in Laranja. And I'm thanking Brad, because Brad drew up a nice agreement would be between the parish and the Laranja Little League Baseball. That agreement will be sent to Little League Baseball tomorrow for their review. I'm asking that we put that on the agenda for the next meeting. Excuse me, and we'll need to get some letters ready, Jill, to send out to the board members. I've talked to at least 3 of them. They think it's a great idea that the Little League's gonna put the money into the park that needs it, and it's gonna help address the situation out there for the lack of things that the park needs. So we'll need to get a letter to the rest of the board, if you can get the addresses and all. And I'd like to put it on the agenda for the next meeting to start the process on the agreement, because it'll have to be done by ordinance. And then also have on the agenda to abolish the Recreation District Board. Okay?
Okay.
And Brad's gonna get a copy of that to you tomorrow. I need it to go to Ryan, and John's gonna get a copy tomorrow. Okay?
I just sent him.
Oh, you got it already, John?
I just sent it.
You just sent it. Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Everyone.
Mr. Joseph?
Okay, I just want the council to be aware, and the audience too, that at the next meeting, we're going to culminate the ceremony for the 2 deputies that were killed in the line of duty, Deputy Kent III and Deputy Ed Tofield Jr. We're going to present those family members and those who were responsible for getting the legislation passed, and a framed and matted article that appeared in the Daily Star. And Deputy Kent has a daughter, some family members who live in New York. Deputy Tofield has relatives who live in the state of Washington. And they won't be able to come down for the presentation, but I've asked Ken and John Dunnington to coordinate and collaborate and do, we can do a link, Ken, or we can do a thumb drive and get it to those family members. Correct?
Yeah, the jump drives I did today, and the link is still up.
No. I'm talking about the presentation for next 2 weeks from now.
Oh, that'll do that too. That'll do
Yeah. Okay, that's what we would like. So, and what I like, Robbie, for Robbie and all the councilmen, it was a council thing, not a person, not a one guy thing. If we can get around those families and take some pictures, when we present the frame photograph to them, maybe someplace out here, we can do that. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mr. Mayu?
Well, I'd like to wish everybody happy Valentine's, especially the ladies, and hope y'all have a wonderful night.
I got a question, Joe. Why people don't ever act men to have a happy Valentine? We human too.
All right, Ms. Coates?
Yeah, so I want to kind of give an update, and Robbie, you might be able to help as well, on the lighting. Joey and I both are getting a bunch of calls on the road lighting. According to Wesley, they're putting together the whole package on Wednesday to give to Entergy to get all those road lights back on. So we've been working on it. It's coming. It's just been getting through all of the districts to see where the lights are out, which ones are broken and stuff like that. So it is coming.
Okay, anyone else? If not, Mr. Wells, I'll entertain your motion.
And Madam Chairman, before I make that motion, I'd like to say happy Valentine's to everybody. So I move that we adjourn this meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Webb.